Hey lovely people out there, welcome to my YouTube channel and thanks for clicking on this video. Now in our today's video lecture, we are going to start with a very interesting new chapter, and the name of that particular chapter is Parasympathetic Nervous System. But before diving deep into the concepts of parasympathetic nervous system, we must first understand the basics regarding our nervous system. सो आज के इस वीडियो में हम बेसिक लेक्चर कवर अप कर रहे होंगे, जहां पे हम डिफरेंट चीजें पढ़ेंगे रिगार्डिंग अवर नर्वस सिस्टम. सो लेट्स टेक अ लुक कि आज के इस वीडियो लेक्चर में हम कौन सी चीजें पढ़ रहे होंगे. So the very first important thing that we are going to discuss in this particular video lecture is basic division of our nervous system. Then we will see what is the main important difference between sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. Then we will see the divisions of autonomic nervous system, and finally we will see the concepts which are related to our sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve fibers. So without wasting any further time, let's get started with our basic division of our nervous system. So for our simplicity, हमारा जो nervous system है, we have classified our nervous system into two main categorization. The very first one is known as central nervous system and the second one is known as peripheral nervous system. Now, ये जो central nervous system है, it is mainly comprising of our brain and the spinal cord, and ये जो peripheral nervous system है, it is again getting subclassified into two main categories. The very first one is known as autonomic nervous system and the second one is known as somatic nervous system. This autonomic nervous system is further getting subclassified into two important systems. The very first system is known as sympathetic nervous system and the second one is known as parasympathetic nervous system. Now, in our previous video lectures, we have covered up the topic of sympathetic nervous system. Now, from this particular video series, we are going to start with our parasympathetic nervous system. But before starting, we must understand what is the basic difference between sympathetic nervous system and parasympathetic nervous system. So let's imagine कि आप एक जंगल में जाते हो and अचानक से आपके पीछे एक शेर पड़ जाता है. Now, in order to save your life, you will run. Now, ये particular situation में जो हमारा जो system होता है, that is overpowering our human body, that system is known as sympathetic nervous system. Now, ये जो sympathetic nervous system होता है, ये कौन से situation में activate होता है? So, the very first important situation is known as fight situation. Whenever we need to fight from a particular situation, the system that is overpowering our human body, that is sympathetic nervous system. The second F situation, जहाँ पे हमारा sympathetic nervous system हमारे body के ऊपर dominate करता है, that is known as flight situation. Now, whenever we need to run from a particular situation, जैसे in this particular example, when the lion is behind you will run, and वहाँ पे जो system activate होता है, that is our sympathetic nervous system. And finally, the last F situation is fright situation. So whenever we are getting nervous from a particular situation, the system which overpowers our human body is our sympathetic nervous system. Now exactly ulta is our parasympathetic nervous system. Whenever our body is in a relaxed position, या फिर हमारे लाइफ में जब सब कुछ एकदम ठीक चल रहा है, कोई स्ट्रेस नहीं है, कोई एग्जाम नहीं है, the system which is overpowering our human body, that system is known as parasympathetic nervous system. So sympathetic nervous system is nothing but it is that particular system which gets activated in three important F situation. The very first one is fight situation, second one is fright situation, and the third one is flight situation. And whenever our body is in a relaxed state, the system that is overpowering our human body is our parasympathetic nervous system. नाउ द मेन क्वेश्चन इज कि ये जो सिंपैथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टम है एंड पैरासिम्पैथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टम है, हमें पता कैसे चलता है कि कौन सा पर्टिकुलर नर्वस सिस्टम इज सिंपैथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टम एंड पैरासिम्पैथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टम? सो द आंसर इज इट इज बेस्ड अपॉन द एनाटॉमी, यानी कि ये जो सिंपैथेटिक नर्व फाइबर्स कहाँ से ओरिजिनेट होते हैं एंड पैरासिम्पैथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टम कहाँ से ओरिजिनेट होते हैं, उससे डिसाइड होगा कि कौन से हमारे नर्व फाइबर सिंपैथेटिक इन नेचर है एंड कौन से पैरासिम्पैथेटिक इन नेचर है. So let's see the division of our sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. So as you can see on your screen, on my left hand side I have parasympathetic nerves and on my right hand side I have sympathetic nerves. Now ये जो sympathetic nerves होते हैं ये कहाँ से arise होते हैं? So the answer is कि ये जो sympathetic nerves होते हैं they are mainly arising from our thoracolumbar region. So as you can see on your screen कि ये जो particular segment होता है of our spinal cord, this is known as thoracic region, and यहाँ से जो nerves arise होती है they are thoracic nerves, and ये जो thoracic nerves होती है they are sympathetic nerves. The second region जहाँ से ये जो sympathetic nerves arise होती है that is our lumbar region. This is our lumbar region, and यहाँ से जो nerve arise होती है they are known as lumbar nerves, and ये जो nerves होती है they are sympathetic nerves. So हमें ये तो पता चल गया कि जो भी nerves thoracolumbar region से arise होंगे they will be sympathetic in nature. Now the question is कि parasympathetic nerves कहाँ से arise होते हैं? So the answer is it is getting arising from two important different regions. The very first region is our brain. Now brain से cranial nerves arise होती है. So these cranial nerves are parasympathetic in nature, and the second region is our sacral region. So as you can see on your screen, this particular image is representing our brain, and brain से you can see कि there is a cranial nerves are getting arised. So ये जो cranial nerves होती है they are parasympathetic in nature, and here is our sacral nerves. So as you can see this particular segment is our sacral region, and यहाँ से जो nerves arise होगी they are known as sacral nerves, and ये जो sacral nerves होती है they are parasympathetic nerves. Now when we are talking about the cranial nerves, हमें ये पता होना चाहिए कि कौन से cranial nerves parasympathetic in nature होते हैं. So the answer is there are four important cranial nerves which are parasympathetic in nature. So जो पहली important nerve का नाम है that is oculomotor nerve, that is our cranial nerve number 3, that is parasympathetic in nature. The second important cranial nerve that is parasympathetic in nature is our cranial nerve number 7, and the name of that cranial nerve number 7 is facial nerve. The third important cranial nerve which is parasympathetic in nature is our cranial nerve number 9, and उसका नाम है glossopharyngeal nerve, and the last one is our cranial nerve number 10, and उसका जो नाम है that is vagus nerve. So there are four important cranial nerves which are parasympathetic in nature, that is cranial nerve number 3, 7, 9 and 10. So you need to remember the name of this cranial nerves. Now जो second outflow था that was basically from the sacral region. Now sacral region से भी कहाँ से ये particularly nerves arise होती है? So the answer is from three important segments. We have S2 segment, वहाँ से ये nerves arise होती है. We have S3 segment, वहाँ से ये nerve arise होती है. And we have S4 segment, जहाँ से ये parasympathetic nerve arise होती है. So from sacral region, mainly from the S2 segment, S3 and S4, ये parasympathetic nerve fibers arise होते हैं. Now हमने division of autonomic nervous system तो देख लिया है, but now we need to understand कि what is a main important difference between sympathetic nerve fibers and parasympathetic nerve fiber. So let's get into the details of sympathetic and parasympathetic nerve fibers. So as you can see on your screen, this particular nerve is representing our parasympathetic nervous system, and here is our sympathetic nervous system. So let's first focus on our parasympathetic nervous system. So as you can see on your screen, यहाँ पे ये जो junction होता है, this particular junction is known as ganglion. Now ये जो ganglion के पहले ये जो nerve होती है, this is our nerve number 1, and ये जो होती है, this is our nerve number 2. But हम इसे nerve number 1 या फिर nerve number 2 से नहीं पहचानते हैं. We have different particular names. As you can see कि ये जो nerve fiber है, it is present before the ganglia, hence it is known as preganglionic nerve fiber. And ये जो nerve है, it is present after the ganglia, इसीलिए हम इसको बोलते हैं postganglionic nerve fiber. Now preganglionic nerve fiber से ये particularly second nerve को signal कैसे देगा? So the answer is with the help of neurotransmitter. So preganglionic nerve fiber ending से एक neurotransmitter आएगा, and what is the name of that neurotransmitter? The answer is acetylcholine. Now ये acetylcholine अपना action show कैसे करेगा? So this acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter and it will act on a particular receptor. वो receptor को जब ये acetylcholine bind करता है, after binding to that particular receptor, it will show its a response. So preganglionic nerve fiber will release acetylcholine, and ये जो acetylcholine है, it will work on its particular receptor, and वो receptor जो response show करेगा, it will act accordingly. Now ये जो postganglionic nerve fibers होती है, they will release a very important neurotransmitter, and that is acetylcholine. So as you can see on your screen, here is our postganglionic nerve fiber, and it is going to release acetylcholine as its main important neurotransmitter. Now let us see what we have in our sympathetic nervous system के nerve fiber. So once again, as you can see, कि this is our junction, and this particular junction is known as a ganglion. Once again, जो भी nerve fiber ये ganglia के पहले present होगी, they are known as preganglionic nerve fibers, and जो भी nerve fibers ये ganglia के बाद में present होंगे, they are known as postganglionic nerve fibers. Now I want you to take a look on what is the main important difference between parasympathetic and sympathetic nerve fibers. Let's first focus on preganglionic nerve fibers. So it is quite evident from this particular image कि जो preganglionic nerve fibers होते हैं of parasympathetic nervous system, they are long. On the other hand, जो sympathetic nervous system के जो preganglionic nerve fibers होते हैं, वो short होते हैं. So this is one important main difference between parasympathetic and sympathetic nerve fiber. Now let's take a look on postganglionic nerve fiber. So when we see the postganglionic nerve fiber of parasympathetic nervous system, so the postganglionic nerve fiber of parasympathetic nervous system, they are basically short. On the other hand, जो sympathetic nervous system के जो postganglionic nerve fibers होते हैं, they are long. So this is the second main important difference. Now ये जो postganglionic nerve fibers होते हैं of sympathetic nervous system, they will release a very important main neurotransmitter, and the name of that particular neurotransmitter is known as noradrenaline, which is also known as norepinephrine. Now parasympathetic में जो postganglionic nerve fiber की जो ending है, that is releasing a neurotransmitter that is known as acetylcholine. But when we are talking about the sympathetic nervous system के postganglionic nerve fiber के जो nerve ending है, it is going to release a very important neurotransmitter, and the name of that neurotransmitter is noradrenaline. Now sympathetic nervous system में और एक important chemical आता है, and the name of that particular chemical is adrenaline. Now the question is कि ये जो adrenaline है, ये कहाँ से निकलता है from where it is getting released. So the answer is it is getting released from adrenal medulla. So as you can see, ये जो triangle shape है, that is representing our adrenal medulla. And ये जो adrenal medulla में जो cells present होंगे, they are going to release adrenaline. And ये जो adrenaline है, it is directly getting released into our blood. And जहाँ भी इसको अपने adrenergic receptors दिखेंगे, it will work on those adrenergic receptors and it will show its particular action. Now lastly we have our motor nerve, and ये जो motor nerve है, it is releasing acetylcholine, and this is our skeletal muscle and this is our neurotransmitter, that is acetylcholine. So ये जब acetylcholine यहाँ पे release होगा, it will work on its different receptors and it will show its effect. Now there is one exception. In sympathetic nervous system, we have a very important sympathetic nerve fiber that is going to our sweat gland. Now इसमें अजीब बात क्या है? What is the main important exception? हमने अभी पढ़ा कि जो sympathetic nervous system के जो post ganglionic nerve fibers होते हैं, they are mainly releasing noradrenaline as its main important neurotransmitter. But those sympathetic nerve fibers which are going to our sweat gland, they are not releasing noradrenaline, but they are releasing acetylcholine. But अभी हमने पढ़ा था कि जो हमारा पैरासिम्पैथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टम होता है, वहाँ के जो पोस्ट गैंग्लियोनिक नर्व फाइबर्स होते हैं, they are mainly releasing acetylcholine. So ये जो सिंपैथेटिक नर्व फाइबर है जो स्वेट ग्लैंड्स में जा रहे हैं, they are releasing acetylcholine. तो ये सिंपैथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टम के फाइबर्स में आएगा कि पैरासिम्पैथेटिक नर्व फाइबर्स में आएगा? सो द आंसर इज ये सिंपैथेटिक में ही आएगा. व्हाई? बिकॉज ये जो डिवीजन पड़ा है दैट इज ऑफ सिंपैथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टम एंड पैरासिम्पैथेटिक नर्वस सिस्टम, इट इज नॉट बेस्ड अपॉन कि कौन सा न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर पोस्ट गैंग्लियोनिक नर्व फाइबर से रिलीज हो रहा है. इट इज मेनली बेस्ड अपॉन द एनाटॉमिकल पोजीशन ऑफ अवर नर्व फाइबर रिलीज. सो जो भी नर्व फाइबर्स thoracolumbar region से arise होंगे, they are mainly comprising of our sympathetic nervous system, irrespective of वो कौन सा न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर रिलीज कर रहा है. एंड जो भी हमारे नर्व फाइबर्स क्रेनियम यानी कि क्रेनियल नर्व्स जैसे हम बोलते हैं, वो जो वहां पे रिलीज होते हैं, दे आर मेनली पैरासिम्पैथेटिक इन नेचर. एंड एक जो सैक्रल रीजन से जो भी नर्व फाइबर्स रिलीज होते हैं, वो हमारे पैरासिम्पैथेटिक इन नेचर होते हैं. सो ये एक बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट एक्सेप्शन है कि जो हमारे नर्व फाइबर्स विच आर सिंपैथेटिक इन नेचर, विच आर गोइंग टू अवर स्वेट ग्लैंड, दे आर नॉट रिलीजिंग noradrenaline, but they are mainly releasing acetylcholine as its main important neurotransmitter. Now, what are some important points that we need to remember from this particular video lecture? जितने भी हमारे प्री-गैंग्लियोनिक नर्व फाइबर्स होते हैं, whether they are of parasympathetic nervous system or of sympathetic nervous system, जितने भी हमारे प्री-गैंग्लियोनिक नर्व फाइबर्स होते हैं, they are going to release acetylcholine as its main important neurotransmitter. Second point that we need to remember is the main neurotransmitter that is released in case of sympathetic nervous system is noradrenaline and adrenaline. And अभी हमने एक important exception पढ़ा था कि जो हमारे sympathetic nerve fibers होते हैं, जो sweat glands को innervate करते हैं, they are not releasing noradrenaline, they are mainly releasing acetylcholine. And the main important neurotransmitter that is released in our parasympathetic nervous system is acetylcholine. So when we are talking about the main important neurotransmitter of our parasympathetic nervous system, that is acetylcholine, हमें ये पता होना चाहिए कि ये जो acetylcholine है, ये स्टोर कैसे होता है, इसका रिलीज कैसे होता है, ये बनता बेसिकली कैसे है. सो इन अवर नेक्स्ट वीडियो लेक्चर वी आर गोइंग टू सी कि ये जो एसिटाइलकोलिन है, ये नर्व एंडिंग के फाइबर से स्टोर कैसे होता है, रिलीज कैसे होता है, एंड ये सिंथेसाइज कैसे होता है. सो इन द नेक्स्ट वीडियो लेक्चर वी विल बी गोइंग टू सी what is the main important concept behind the release, storage and formation of our acetylcholine. So यहाँ तक अगर आपने वीडियो लेक्चर देखा है, so please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, press that bell icon, like this video and share it with your friends. See you in the next video lecture. Till then, see ya, bye bye, have a good day.